Hello, everybody, and welcome to Gene's Reviews. Reviews from a regular dude, where I do trailer reactions, I react to YouTube videos, I review YouTube channels. Occasionally, I'll review a movie, but really, I just do whatever the hell I want. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Gene's Reviews. Reviews from a regular dude down in the basement. Today, I've got one from Top Fives. This is 5 creepy paranormal photographs and encounters that have never been shared before. I'm going to hold you to that, but I'll bet you I've seen some of them. Let's see.
There are thousands of creepy stories, images, and videos of the paranormal out there on the internet, and we have featured many of them over the years. But some of the best stories are those that have never been told. In this video we'll look at 5 paranormal photos, videos, and encounters that have never been shared before. So as always, sit back, hit those lights, and enjoy. River Pool Spirit. Jared from Guatemala in Central America sent us this first one. Jared and his family live in the city, but his mother owns some land just outside of the city. The area is remote and has lush green landscapes and clean rivers, and Jared and his family go there to stay at least once a year. Well, about a kilometre away from the cottage they stay in is a natural river pool known as Rettery. That is a perfect place for the family to go for a swim.
It doesn't look very clean.
Although the pool is a little dangerous as it's very deep in places. One day, Jared and his brother were alone in the river pool, just swimming, messing around in the water and taking photos. At the time, nothing out of the ordinary happened. However, when they went back home to the city, they had a look over the photographs they had taken at the river and noticed something strange. It appeared that they were not alone, as they thought. In one of the photographs, you can see what looks like a little boy's head poking out of the water. Take a look. Jared knows he and his brother were alone that day, and what makes it even more creepy is that there are countless stories of people who have drowned in that river, and lots of stories about children who have gotten into difficulty in the pool and lost their lives. Jared believes that he captured the spirit of a child who drowned in the pool. What do you think?
I think it's Jason.
Screaming Spirit. This photograph was sent in by a subscriber from Washington County in southeastern Ohio who wishes to remain anonymous, so we'll call him S. The photo was taken by his sister.
He said,
before we show it to you, here is a bit of background.
We'll call him Ass or we'll call him S. I'm sure he said S.
By a subscriber from Washington County in southeastern Ohio who wishes to remain anonymous, so we'll call him S. The photo was taken by his sister. Before we show it to you, here is a bit of background. S's sister, who we'll call B, and her fiancé T were renting a small house. The house was located just outside of Marietta, Ohio. Marietta is the oldest town in Ohio, and has a history of strange goings-on and hauntings, and is said to be built on top of numerous Native American burial grounds, some of which are still visible today. B was due to get married, but a few months before the wedding, sadly T's grandfather passed away. It was his dying wish that all of his belongings would be distributed amongst his family, and B and T inherited a few things, mostly furniture. Shortly after bringing the new items into their home, they began to paint and retile their kitchen. However, during the redecoration, strange things started to happen around the house. T's clothes would be mysteriously laid out for him on the floor, cups would fall out of closed cabinets, and things would be thrown across the room. At the time, the couple didn't think too much of it and continued with their decorating. B took some photos of the home, most notably of the kitchen, and sent them over to T's mother as a way of showing her their progress and usage of the newly acquired furniture and decor. However, in one of the photographs, her soon-to-be mother-in-law noticed what looked like an anguished face near the window. She asked B what it was, believing that she may be fooling around or trying to scare her. It's worth noting that S told us his sister is not like that. She is very kind-hearted and good-natured, and to pretend to capture a ghost, especially after a death in the family, is something that would never cross her mind. The strangest thing about this image is that when T's grandfather passed, those family members who were with him said that when the time came, he began to panic and scream, saying he wasn't ready. What do you make of the image?
Oh wow, it took me forever to see
Creepy
that.
tunnels.
Let's go back.
Those family members who were with him said
It's
that
not
when the
in
time
the
came,
window.
he began to panic and scream,
It's to the
saying
left
he
of the
wasn't ready.
window.
What do you make of the image?
Yeah, it looks like a skeleton face.
Creepy tunnels. Enzo shared 2 photographs with us that he took on a holiday in Italy. At first glance, there isn't anything particularly scary about them until you know the background. About 4 years ago, Enzo was in Italy with his parents, staying in a location where lots of battles took place during World War I. The area was scattered with abandoned bunkers, and one day Enzo and his father went to investigate one of them. They walked quite deep into the structure, and as they walked through the halls, they noticed a lot of entrances were cemented off so no one could get trapped. However, when they walked into one of the tunnels, there were 2 ways to go, both going left. They decided to take the furthest away, but as they walked towards it, suddenly a mist came out of the tunnel and moved towards the wall before disappearing in front of their eyes. Enzo and his father were very unnerved, as they were deep inside the bunker, so wondered where the mist could come from. They both ran out of the bunker as fast as they could. However, Enzo was lucky enough to capture 2 photographs, one that shows the clear bunker and the other with a mist. But the story doesn't end there. Later that night, when they were back at their hotel, Enzo's father was awoken in the middle of the night when Enzo's stuffed animal toy was randomly thrown at him. His father was scared and woke his wife, and they both checked the room to see if there was any way Enzo could have thrown the toy in his sleep, but soon realized the proximity of his bed, compared to theirs, meant there was no way he could have thrown it without injuring himself. Soon after, his shaken dad went to the bathroom to freshen up and calm down, and decided to leave the bathroom light on. But as he made his way back to the bed, he heard a loud click and the bathroom light turned itself off. It's fair to say Enzo's mother and father had a fairly restless night after that. Spooky Silent 999 call. This was sent in by Johnny, who back in the early 2000s was working as a policeman in Scotland. One night shift, at around 4 AM, Johnny and his colleague received a radio call from a control room to attend a silent 999 call. A silent 999 is fairly common, and is basically when someone dials 999 but doesn't respond or give any information as to the nature of the call. The majority of these calls are young children whom are taught to dial 999 in emergencies and decide it would be fun to give it a try. Often the police show up at a house
Or they
and an
can't
embarrassed
say
parent
anything.
would answer the door, apologizing for their
They're
children
just hoping
who
it'll be
dialed the
traced.
number. In this case, the silent 999 came from a local inn. Johnny and his colleagues drove to the inn. That was a pub and accommodation with half a dozen rooms upstairs. The place was in darkness and all was quiet. They did an external check of the building, and Johnny radioed the control center to contact the key holder to the building. As luck would have it, the owner/key holder lived in the bungalow right next to the inn. As she unlocked the door, she explained that there were no residents staying, as it was off-season and there was no one in the building. The 2 policemen conducted a thorough search of the building and all of the rooms, but found nothing. Johnny contacted control again and asked them to elaborate on the silent 999 call. The controller explained she could hear someone breathing on the other end of the call, but not speaking or making any other noise. She said the call was terminated by the caller and was very crackly. However, she was unable to say if it was male or female. Johnny then asked her to confirm the originating phone number, which she read out over the radio. Johnny then repeated the telephone number to the owner of the inn, as she had guided them to the only external line in the place, which was behind the bar. However, the numbers did not match. Johnny noticed at that moment the owner went deathly white in the face and asked Johnny to repeat the number. She then said, "Follow me." She escorted both Johnny and his colleague down into the cellar. It was a large cold storeroom where all the beer kegs and other chilled bottles were stored. She took them across to the opposite side of the room where an old bureau was sat. She opened the bottom drawer and produced one of those old rotary style phones. It was yellowed with age and clearly hadn't been used for some time. She then pointed to an old phone line on the wall and said that back in the 80s, the old phone was connected there and it used to sit on the desk. The phone number was written on the middle of the rotary mechanism and had a clear plastic cover on it. It was the number from which the silent 999 call had come from. To this day, they have no idea who called or how this was even possible. Skinwalker Ranch Experience. This story was sent in by Maddie. It's not her personal experience, but something that happened to her dad, who we'll call H. H
Skinwalker
grows
Ranch.
crude oil in southeastern Utah and works very close to the infamous Skinwalker Ranch. When he first started with the company, he and his family were required to watch a documentary on the Skinwalker Ranch, so they were aware of the strange things that happened in the area. H was also warned that if he sees anything out there, smells rotting flesh, or hears strange sounds, he is to shut down his pump and get back into his truck immediately. H went along with the warnings, but didn't really believe any of the stories. A few months later, he was training a new driver, who we'll call Mike, who he had to supervise and offer advice when necessary. Mike hooked up the hose to the tanker trailer, and the two men stood beside the truck, keeping an eye on the pump and waiting for it to fill the tanker, which normally took about half an hour. As they stand there talking, suddenly both men went silent at the same time. They both smelled the unmistakable scent of rotting meat. Immediately, H told Mike to shut down the pump, and both men got into the truck and locked the doors. It was nighttime, so they were in complete darkness. As they sat in the truck, H thought he heard someone whisper his name, and as he looked out of the truck window, he saw a huge wolf-like creature. Both men were terrified, but they knew the protocol, so stayed still and quiet. By now, the smell of rotting flesh was overwhelming, making them feel sick. The wolf apparently...
I'd need to change my drawers right then, I think.
Both men were terrified, but they knew the protocol, so stayed still and quiet. By now, the smell of rotting flesh was overwhelming, making them feel sick. The wolf apparently circled the truck twice, and on its third trip around, H again heard something saying his name, and the voice sounded like Maddie's mum. He instinctively looked to where the voice was coming from, but as he turned his head, he came eye to eye with the wolf. It was standing on its hind legs and was staring straight at him with glowing eyes. The creature called his name again, but this time H resisted looking, and instead focused on the dash of the truck, and out of the corner of his eye, he saw the wolf get back down on its legs, and the smell disappeared. The two men sat in the truck in stunned silence for about 10 minutes, before getting out and finishing the pump. As they were finishing up, H looked at the opposite ridge, and on top of the hill to the left, he could see the outline of a giant wolf in the moonlight. About a month later, H worked the same well, but this time he was alone. As he waited for the truck to fill, he phoned Maddie's mum, but whilst he was talking to her, he heard a really strange sound, like someone was running their fingernails on the other side of his trailer. He grabbed a metal rod and walked around the front of the truck. Forgetting the protocol of getting in the truck, if he heard strange noises, he went to investigate, and found 3 thin scratches that led from the middle of the huge chrome trailer to the bottom. The scratches were as tall as him. However, in the darkness, H couldn't make out any footprints, so he shrugged it off as him being paranoid because he was alone in the middle of nowhere. He went back to the pump and realized how quiet it had gone. The only sounds he could hear was the pump and his own breathing. Suddenly he heard a hiss from above, on the top of the tanker. Although it didn't sound like an animal hissing, it sounded more like a backwards, distorted record. H looked up and saw what looked like a broken in half sideways human that was covered in spikes. He backed away from the trailer as he stared up at this thing, and its white eyes shone back at him. He didn't know what to do, so just stood there. After about a minute, the creature made the same distorted sound and jumped off the other side of the trailer. However, in less than 10 seconds, H could see the creature standing on the same hill that he had previously seen the wolf on. How it got there in such a short space of time, he had no idea. As H stood and stared at the creature, it crouched down and changed. At first the outline looked like a bird, then a deer, then a wolf. It then stood up on its hind legs and walked off to the other side of the ridge. This was the last straw for H, and he refused to work at that particular well again, and to this day has never gone back. About a year after the incident, H was asked to train another driver at a different well that was also close to the ranch. Just as the two men finished pumping and got back into the truck, their ears popped at the same time. The trainee who was driving missed a gear, and he stopped the truck. H turned to him, but as he tried to speak, no sound came out. The two men sat in the truck and stared down at the ranch, and they could see a huge light rising from the center of it that looked like someone had just set off a huge firework. The light exploded about 200 feet off the ground, and they just watched as a green wave made its way across the sky towards their truck before stopping just before it reached them. As the green light faded, everything appeared to come back, and the truck started revving so much it was on the verge of overheating. The trainee quickly put the truck into gear and left the area as fast as they could. The next day, he apparently quit. Not long after H found out that a family who lived in a house about a mile from the ranch had recently vanished. Apparently the children had missed several days of school, prompting concerned family members to go and check on them. When they arrived, they found all of the livestock slaughtered, with their bellies ripped open. Inside the trailer, they found the TV still on, pots still on the stove full of old food, and food still on the table. One of the chairs was knocked over, but there was no trace of the family.
I honestly think that Skinwalker Ranch is extraterrestrial. I think it's alien life, is what I believe. I really do believe that.
H doesn't think that there were any investigations into where the family went, because it's not unusual for families who live in close proximity of the ranch to disappear. H still works for the company, but he works during the day now. His co-workers continue to experience strange things when working at the 2 wells closest to Skinwalker, and several refuse to haul in that area. Maddie's dad told her he believes he met the same Skinwalker on both occasions. He has no explanation for what he saw, but he won't go anywhere near the place at night again. What do you make of this experience? So that's it for this video. We hope you've enjoyed.
Well, that was a good video. I like that. That was 5 creepy paranormal photographs and encounters that have never been shared before from Top 5s. There's a bunch of channels with close to that same name. This one's just called Top 5s. Time for a joke. This is from Stephen Wright. I asked my girlfriend if she ever had sex with a woman. She said no. I said, you should try it, it's fun. She did. Now she's gone. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, #MeanGene, all that fun stuff. And if you like this video, tell all your friends, leave a comment down below. And if you didn't like it, then just shut up. And I will see you next time.